All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army match week number 26. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the Premier League, where some teams are smashing the panic button, and PR101 for United Haircut Guy. Halftime will be an old school soccer related weekly what if. Around the world, we got some MLS 2026 musings and stoppage time with Evan Toney's best bets and everybody's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties, starting with none other than Mr. Mitchell Goulet, I'm going to call you our resident NBA expert at this point. I know that Mikey watches and Tyler watches, but I feel like you might watch more than them. This weekend, I could be wrong about this, but I'm not wrong about this weekend being the NBA All-Star game. What I could be wrong about is I got the sense that people just didn't really care about the All-Star. So what is your thoughts on the NBA All-Star game? Is it broken? Does it need fixing? And can it be fixed?
I really appreciate this question. I'd call myself a bit of a historian when it comes to All-Star Weekend. I've been utterly obsessed with particularly the dunk contest, but everything surrounding NBA All-Star Weekend from a very young age. And I can confidently say that this has been the worst NBA All-Star Weekend we've seen. And it's a direct reflection of the league pushing to become the most commercialized and I guess AI-driven product they can be. There was that thing that they released with 200 creators are flying out to LA to be like a creator-heavy event. I think big picture, the league lost the fun of NBA All-Star Weekend and started to succumb to a bunch of outside noise, and they've tweaked it every year, and they didn't roll Mac McClung out of his cage for this one because they didn't want him winning 4 dunk contests straight. The dunk contest was so utterly disappointing. I'm not tooting my own horn here. I have a desk job. I can do 40% of the dunks that were completed. I seriously can. That one Jackson Hayes dunk where he just jumps and then dunks it out of muscle memory, and you can see the look of disappointment on his face as he's on his way down. How do you let that happen? How is the dunk contest, which is the coolest part of this sport, get to that stage? Michael Jordan used to compete in this shit, man. And now we have like rookies and like dudes who don't even play. I don't know. We'll host a special pod with just me yelling about NBA All-Star Weekend, but I do think it's dead right now, but it is not beyond resurrection. I think there are some changes that can be made that Adam Silver needs to hit me up about, and only me, and just give me the reins. Give me 2 years to turn it around, and me and Wemby will single-handedly change this NBA All-Star Weekend, because he's the only one that saved the game. I'm going to shut up here real quickly, but he's the only one that saved the game, and it is not due to the format of the round robin tournament. It was because he came out before and said, I'm going to try, and if you guys don't want to try, I'm going to embarrass you. So try. And you saw that with Luka and Jokic. They were fooling around for the first game, and they were throwing their hands up, and they were laughing, and it was all fun and games, and that's cool, but after a little while, it doesn't look fun anymore. So, yes. The dunk.
One suggestion: if you really just want to like a quick resurrection, give it some morphine and allow it to get back to neutral. Do what Major League Baseball used to do: winner of the All-Star game gets home court advantage for the NBA Finals.
Yep, there needs to be stakes.
Do East and West again, and just and put something on the line. I know there are going to be players in that who might not necessarily have a dog in that fight, but if they see everybody else around them being competitive, they will also be competitive.
Yep, and visually, there's something about players wearing their own team's jerseys. Like, do you remember when they used to do home jerseys versus away jerseys? And it just looked really cool. It looked like you were representing your team. For the jerseys this year, it was Team World, Team USA Stars, and Team USA Stripes. What? Who cares? What? It's just there's no identity, there's no passion behind it. The players aren't out there having fun, and that translates to the fans not having fun. This is a soccer podcast, right?
Long story short, it's broken but not unfixable. Everybody needs to talk to Mitch. Silver, get get your men and women on the phones. Call our boy Mitch over here. All right, Tyler, I know you probably have more thoughts on the NBA All-Star game, but we're moving past that at this point. I got to get it's been too long. U.S. soccer is back, or soccer in the U.S. is almost back starting this weekend. It's been too long since we, the people, have heard you on the call. So give us the sort of a when and where and how. When can we hear from you next? And what are you going to be calling?
Yeah, so interesting question. For those of you who are in the Discord, and this is a good opportunity to relieve Sam of his Discord pumping duties, and I chose my verbiage there very carefully, just so we're all on the same page. So I will pump you instead of Sam. You're welcome. Get in the Discord.
It'll last much longer.
Best soccer group chat you could ever ask to be in, and it's the best. It's always going, always good banter. And if you want to talk NBA All-Star game fixes, then you can also do that in the off-topic section, but don't do it in the Premier League section because that's just dumb. Anyway, $3.99 a month, best money you'll ever spend. So I told the Discord, I'm not doing MLS anymore. There's an After Dark episode somewhere down the line at some point in time, or a full disclosure as exactly what happened, but I'll just leave it at this. It wasn't my decision. But whatever, it's fine. Bigger and much better things to come. So with that in mind, March 7th, USL doubleheader, Charleston Battery, Pittsburgh River Rhinos, opening day, great game, okay? Then the 10 o'clock game, the doubleheader that I'm doing from the studios down in Fort Lauderdale, Monterey Bay against our very own Tommy McCabe and the Oakland Roots. We will find out whether or not Tommy McCabe is actually alive. If he's on the field, then the answer is yes. If he's not, then the answer is no. So very excited about that. Then I've got a couple of NWSL games on their opening weekend. But then the big ticket items will be Fox Sports, Bolivia, Suriname, Intercontinental Playoff, Germany, Ghana, friendly, and then Iraq against the winner of Bolivia and Suriname, winner take all, goes to the World Cup, which should be absolutely epic. And we're actually going down to Monterrey for that Bolivia and Suriname game. So that should be a lot of fun. So very excited for all those. Again, check your local listings. Feel like I'm a radio station now, but yeah.
And get on the Discord because he keeps us abreast of all his comings and goings in the Discord. You did a much better job than I did with pumping the Discord. But as a reminder, $3.99 a month. Get on it now. Sam's Army Patreon will get you access to Discord. The Sam's Army After Dark episodes that have been and will be coming, and everything else that comes with this fine podcast. All right, Premier League time. Well, there was FA Cup this weekend, so we're just going to kind of listen. We don't really give that much of a F about FA Cup. I mean, I do. I think everybody does, but we're just not really going to focus on it too much, at least until we get to like the semifinals and final. So for now, we're going to do a quick recap of the full midweek slate that we that came and went. So some of the notable results: West Ham drew with Manchester United, a big game for that dude with a whole lot of hair. But Michael Carrick is still gone however many games unbeaten. So not the end of the world there. Spurs lost in the toilet bowl to Newcastle and immediately, finally, put Thomas Frank out of his misery. Similarly, Forest drew with Wolves and immediately put Sean Dyche out of his misery. So it was a kind of a red wedding of sorts for managerial or EPL managers this week. I think there actually was a previous red wedding several months ago. Other games, Sunderland lost to Liverpool 1-0. City beat Fulham 3-0. Arsenal drew with Brentford 1-1. So, Mitch, the results of the midweek, what stood out? Which one stood out and why?
Yeah, we'll talk about Arsenal. Hats off to Brentford for how they played that game. They deserved to be on the field with us, and they proved it for all 90 minutes. We looked lost. I don't even think we got a shot on target until the goal. And I want to say that was the only shot on target we had. Maybe there was one at the end of the game. I'm not sure. We looked lost, and Brentford looked fantastic. I have my notes on that game in a notebook that I don't have with me, so I wish I had some more in-depth thoughts on it. But big picture, I don't feel great about where we are. It was nice to go this weekend and get an FA Cup win that felt like, all right, we're back. We're the best team in England. But it certainly doesn't feel that way when we step on the field against mid-table competition, and that worries me. I do still think that this is our league to lose. We're in the driver's seat right now, but there is not nearly as big a cushion as we could have if we had just turned it on for an extra 10 to 15 minutes in a handful of fixtures this season. I don't feel like we play a compelling 90 minutes of football. We play 60. And for those 30 that we drop off, we look so disorganized. It worries me. And those are 30 minutes that teams like Pep Guardiola's City can capitalize on. So I don't feel great.
So it's a 4-point gap right now. You know, it has been a lot bigger. At the same time, 4 points is not nothing. But yeah, are it basically, is it coming off of a midweek where you guys didn't look great and City did actually look pretty good, 3-0 sort of demolition of Fulham? Does it feel like that 4 points is just not quite even as big as 4 points right now?
Yeah, because it's shrinking. I can still acknowledge that that's 2 match days, but it should be more. Plain and simple. It should be 6. Yeah, you look at the rest of our schedule and I don't see more dropped points, but that there is the kiss of death. I don't know, man.
Well, hold on a second. That April game against Manchester City, that's not drop points.
Oh, yeah. All right, so that's I'm kind of speaking around that one. Yes, that is obviously an opportunity for us to drop points.
Can I just say one thing? And I know that I've killed Arsenal on this pod, and really anywhere that I open my mouth, to be fair. And Sam, talk through this with me. More and more, I think we're watching Arsenal slip into this uber defensive, non-killer instinct mentality as the season progresses. And as squeaky bum time becomes more and more real. We joke a lot about how this is going to be the ugliest winning Premier League side known to mankind. Fair enough. If you're a Premier League winning side, you're a Premier League winning side. There's no scorecards next to it. In 15 years from now, when our kids are doing their own Sans Army podcast, they're not going to be talking about how ugly Arsenal did it unless I tell my future child. But I can't remember a Premier League champion within the past, let's call it 20 years, who played like Arsenal do and won a title. Did those Chelsea teams?
Yeah, that's who I was gonna bring up.
But did they have this level of ineptitude going forward?
Can I bring a counter? The Athletic did a piece on why Arsenal's football looks so boring, and a lot of that is because of the sheer number of low blocks that we play against. We see that when Wigan wanted to open up against us and wanted to play a little end-to-end game, we kind of demolished them. It was 4-0 in the blink of an eye, and that wasn't even a contest after 25 minutes. If Premier League teams want to open up against us, and this is kind of, Brentford in the midweek last week did a great job of it. I don't think, 15 other teams are equipped to do that. So if you want to play Arsenal in the Premier League and get any type or any chance of a result, you are going to play a low block, and it was an earthquake? I don't know. You're going to play a low block, and you're going to try to pack it in. And we don't have the forwards to score on a low block. That's why we see so many own goals, is because it's balls into threatening areas, and we don't have a finisher like, I don't know, Erling Haaland, for example. The reason that our football looks boring is because if teams want to play us in an exciting fashion, we will beat them.
I was thinking back to the Chelsea, those Chelsea, teams of like Jose Mourinho 15, 20 years ago. They had a guy like Drogba, They had kind of a Haaland like just 9 that was willing to go up there and battle with center backs and whatever on low block. I'm looking through the Discord chat.
I'll also offer that the tactics of Didier Drogba's Chelsea in the time, it's a lot different than what football looks like now. It's still modern football. It's still, looks like what we know as football, but it's different. There's less statistics, there's less technology to help coaches. It looks a lot different than what football looks like now. So yeah, I don't know. Fred Rogers brings up, did they do a comparison of low blocks that Arsenal have seen versus previous champions? I think the game looks so much different that if you just go sheer number of like out of 38 games, how many times did a team face a low block? Obviously, that's super subjective and it doesn't last throughout the course of a game. But I think we are playing football in an effort to win the league, not look the most fun doing it.
But I don't think that those two things are mutually exclusive.
Correct.
I think that there's a level of like fun, and I'm putting fun in air quotes, and there's a level of sort of like go out and kill the game or go out and get the game mentality that needs to be had for a champion to a certain extent. And maybe I'll be proven wrong, and maybe Mikel Arteta, and like to be fair, I said Mikel Arteta was going all in on defensive and all in on set pieces, even going back to last year at the beginning of the season in the first 5 or 6 weeks when I was like, holy shit, like they are leaps and bounds better defensively than every team in the Premier League right now. Yet I still am concerned, and Mitch, to your point about mid-table Premier League teams being able to frustrate them and being able to take points off of them. And that is there enough quality? And I can tell you exactly who the lineup should consist of if you are going to just sort of say, like, we're going to play against the low block. We need quality technical players. Victor Gyökeres doesn't get anywhere close to the field. It has to be Gabby Jesus. It has to be Eze. It has to be Odegaard. And it has to be Declan Rice. Like, I don't know. I'm just getting to the point where I'm sort of like, and again, all the Arsenal banter aside, and I'm just like, I don't know if this is a championship winning side hard stop. Not good-looking championship winning side. I'm just like, is this a title winning side? Period. And Mayan's right. And I was gonna bring that up about Manchester City, but they have the quality of players to be able to break them down. But maybe it doesn't matter about quality of players to break them down, and maybe you just need to be able to take advantage of set pieces because you're going to create all of them because you are playing against low blocks consistently. So maybe set pieces are the new tiki-taka and the new sort of like, collection of $75 million transfers. And you don't need to string together 40 passes and play the beautiful game the way it's meant to be played. Just fucking score one more goal than the other team.
I think the beautiful game being played the way it's meant to be played is almost dead. Like not truly, but
All-Star game's dead, soccer's dead, everything's dead. MLS media coverage is dead. What's alive right now?
And it's all rooted in capitalism, and I'll tell you that for free. I think had 3 sips of this Mick Ultra. I think, like, what is so haram about scoring from set pieces so often? Is it not a part of the game? I equate it to like the 79 and whatever Warriors who just shot the shit out of the ball. It was Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and a bunch of dudes who could set.
There was anything unsavory about it, but it's become your identity.
Yes.
Like, and I think it's like sports gambling. It's okay to sports gamble, but when it becomes your identity, then you're just like, hey, the guy, you kind of got a little bit of a problem here. Like, we're not able to go out to have a nice dinner without you checking the Hawaii Utah score, in the Capital One Sam's Army bowl game. Like, come on.
Nice. Yeah. No, I think even Arsenal fans internally are worried that it's our identity, that we're critical of our own team. In my group chats, we are hypercritical, and maybe we're not tweeting it. But there's worries that like Odegaard's not progressive enough, as it doesn't work hard enough off the ball. That game against Wigan, he had some sexy passes, and he looked good because he was playing against a lesser side. But against a Premier League side, he's not working hard off the ball, and unless he has it at his feet, he's not doing much else. All this to say, like, you're right. It is a worry of mine and ours as a collective fan base that this may be a season that we win the league, but is it an identity that we want to build on, that we just defend, set piece, defend?
You won't, but if it works and you win the league, you won't give one single flying fuck. You
no, and again, I think those two things can be separate. Like, I think I can be happy about a sloppily won league, but also be concerned that this isn't the foundation of an identity that we want to build on.
I mean, listen, it's going to be an interesting few months here, and at least I said it coming into the season. This season is make or break for Arteta, and like if he manages to hold on, which right now that's what it feels like you guys are doing. You're just holding on and like just trying to get over that line. If he does that, then it's a complete success. And as much as we want to talk shit about how ugly it was and everything, it doesn't matter. You guys will have won the league, and nothing matters at that point. Now, if he doesn't win the league, and especially playing the way you guys are playing and the sort of the identity that he's built now, if he doesn't win it this year, I think it's over. He's got to go. The experiment didn't work. It was a success. I hate it when everybody's like, he's a total failure. He's not a failure. He's a pretty good damn coach. But whether he's going to be a great coach or not is completely dependent on how the next, say, 3 months go, in my mind.
Yeah.
All right. Let's quickly wrap up the rest of the league here. So quickly on Manchester United, Mayan actually had a comment which I completely agree with. Haircut guy should not be mentioned anymore. I'm actually completely on board with that. Like, I don't know why he just became the biggest thing going here with Manchester United. I do think that he hit his peak this last little run where they had beaten West Ham, he could have gone out kind of like a hero and congratulations for not cutting your hair for as long as he has been. Now he risks all sorts of things. I think that, he's basically, we talked about it in the Discord, that he's at risk of essentially becoming a scapegoat, for any problems that United runs into at this point. And the whole, that thing where he got a haircut appointment before the fifth game, like that's just the start of it. Now I've seen tweets, he's made this much money off of it and blah, blah, blah. The worm is turning. I don't even know if that's the right phrase, but things are changing. And I think PR101, what he should have done is he had two options this past week. Number one, when Wayne Rooney, club legend, said, I'm not down with this. I don't really like this whole thing. He could have been like, then the haircut guy could have been like, listen, club legend is not feeling this. I'm just cutting my hair and be done with it. Or he could have pointed out that the Manchester United women's team has won 6 or 7 or whatever in a row and cut it based on that. Either way, he should have cut his hair and it should be done. And he can use the clout that he's built for however many, months and years of this thing. He could have continued to use that to, whatever, make some money or whatever. I think he missed an opportunity, and it's only going to go downhill from here. Do you disagree, social admin expert Mitch?
No, I think those are two opportunities that he should have taken to cut his hair. Fully agree. Put yourself in his shoes for a second. You started out this experiment as probably a lighthearted TikTok video trend that you could follow along your team with, and I think he's a genuine United fan, right? It wasn't just like out of banter. I think he's actually a fan of the club. So you start out this whole journey thinking, I might, my hair might get a little shaggy, and I may go a couple months without winning, and now it's ballooned into almost 500 days. Or I think he hit the 500-day mark. Are you, as somebody who has just received X $1,000 from this lack of a haircut, are you cutting that off right now? Because after this, you have to be realistic with yourself. You're not going to stay relevant. Nobody cares about you once you get a haircut. So he's milking this for as long as the initial rules are going to let him. Now, am I also tired of hearing about him? Yeah, 100%. Do I think it's weird that he was mentioned on the broadcast? Yeah, a little bit. It's starting to seep into the actual game itself. But I think it goes to show just how long it's been since United have won 5 games in a row, and just how many people have seen this illustrated in front of them in the form of a haircut or lack thereof. So I do think he should cut it, but I don't blame him for not cutting it.
Tyler, anything to add there?
No, I've never. I don't know if I've heard Mitch as passionate about anything as the All-Star game being broken and our scraggly-haired gentleman who's not got a haircut. This is the most animated I've ever seen him on.
This is my world. This is like pseudo influencers in the social soccer space and basketball for that matter. This is my world. So I've seen think pieces on this. I've seen both sides of the argument, and I saw his stream, which had like other people on it and sponsored by Steak and all this. Like, there's so many moving parts to this that is more than just a simple haircut or not to haircut, that you do have to consider all angles, and he's making money off of it.
Can I ask you a very vulnerable question? Because I'm hearing it a little bit in your voice. Are you jealous? No. Damn it.
You went with that? Oh, man. Good answer.
You're really not one of the hairiest people that I know, though.
Because I cut it all the time.
No, but I don't look at you and I'm like, oh, like Mitch is hairy like animal. Like I don't get that kind of vibe from you. Like,
Day one, baby, until Arsenal win 10 straight. No, sorry, what am I jealous of?
No, just like this guy, because he decided out of nowhere to, not cut his hair until Manchester United wins 5 games in a row, and he's like sponsored now and he's got all this going for him, and like you're still stuck here talking about soccer with us on Sam.
Yeah. I could do like I'm not cutting my hair until Sam's Army turns a profit. That could be fun. But
it'll be a while.
That guy will cut his hair first. I promise you, on all things
holy. No, game recognize game. I recognize that this started out as like a really genuine attempt at, hey, I'm gonna make some silly little videos in support of my soccer team, and it has just snowballed as the internet can snowball things. I think he's probably had some uncomfortable conversations with himself and some uncomfortable nights with his head on his pillow, because that shit's got to be itchy as all hell.
Yeah, but it's like more of a savory living than like Hawk to a girl. Like, that
I would agree. Yeah, I think this is a little bit more in the spirit of the game.
Probably not as lucrative.
Well, I don't know. She'd like rug pulled her whole fan base with a little crypto thing. To my knowledge, he hasn't had a crypto scam yet, so I think he's still like chaotic neutral in my book. But it could turn bad very fast. He could use his influence for bad. If he still has this haircut by the time the World Cup rolls around, I will dislike him as a person. Because I know for a fact he's going to garner so many brand deals that are outside of football relevance that it's going to piss me and a lot of people off. For his sake, for the summer, for Manchester United, I hope
for his sake, what are you going to like send a hit out on him? Like it sounds
no, not yet. I think he deserves a haircut. I think that dude is going on 2 years now without a haircut. I can't even fathom that. I think for his sake, he deserves to cut his hair before the World Cup comes around. And if he doesn't, he'll probably have a payday. But at what cost, man?
Manchester United win 5 games in a row, or England wins the World Cup. That should be his.
Yeah, that should be his. Well, are they gonna? They could make a final. But who knows?
Like he's rooting for him. But yes, back to what mine said, and now actually Adam as well. I think we're all sick of it at this point. So good on him for getting his bag or whatever. But I think it's time to move on. Now, before we move on from the Premier League, last topic. So Igor Tudor has been named the new, stopgap, essentially, manager at Tottenham Hotspur. And Vitor Pereira has been brought in by Nottingham Forest. Tyler, thoughts?
How you go from the one possible guy who everybody hires to save themselves from relegation to firing him to then bringing in this wildly qualified Vitor Pereira character who just sentenced Wolves to death in a matter of 4 months is beyond me. And I keep saying this. Who on earth would want that job? But at this point in time, I think that the whole footballing world knows that, I mean, yeah, you can say money all you want, but you can do anything to make money. You can not get your haircut for two years and you can make money. But I think that it's a free hit. I think that if Vitor Pereira goes into the next job, when he inevitably is going to get fired in 2 months from this one, he can say, like, look at who my owner was. Like, that's not a real job. Like, I was just taking a job to take a job. Like, I think that that's genuinely how people probably feel when they're interviewing the graveyard that is the coaches who have been buried by Evangelos Marinakis. So what do I think? What are my thoughts? I don't fucking know. Like, this is insane. It's wild behavior to get rid of Sean Dyche when you literally, if you could pick any coach in Europe to save you from that spot who knows how to save a team from relegation, it is Sean Dyche. And just when the alarm bells are starting to go off and you would potentially need him, you send him out the door. So I don't know what my thoughts are. He's insane, this guy. He's absolutely insane. He's going to send them back to the Stone Ages. They might pull a full Sunderland in the next few years. They might get relegated a couple of times if they're not careful.
Now, if I agree that Sean Dyche has a pretty good track record of saving teams, but you know who also has a pretty good track record? That would be Igor Tudor. Now, his resume is weird. It's all sorts of strange. Like, he stays at a club for like no longer than 8 months tops. That's like it. But in his stints with, Marseille and Juve and whoever, Napoli, was it Lazio? I think it was Lazio. He's been all around in the last few years, and he does a good job for the first few months. And then either things hit the fan, teams sort of turn on him, he just rubs management the wrong way, whatever it is, it doesn't work out. But for the first few months, Igor Tudor seems like a pretty good pick at this point. When everybody says we're just hanging on for Pochettino, who's coming in the summer, coming off of a World Cup win, that's a whole different conversation. I'm not even going to get into it right now. But Igor Tudor right now, just in terms of like what I see from his resume, what he says, what he brings to the table in terms of like he says we're going to start attacking teams, which is number one, what we have to start doing, just try and go actually win some games. I like this appointment. It could be a complete panic move. It could be just total desperation. But you know what? We're in a fucking desperate spot right now. We are this close to like an actual relegation battle. I mean, I think we actually are in a relegation battle. I think that's fair to say. And I think that this is a good move. I'm hopeful that he will just sort of instill some confidence in this team and just tell them, you know what? Go fucking try and score some goals. Just try and do that. So just score some fucking goals. And we'll start there, and hopefully we'll have our defense at least semi-set if Romero stops fucking getting red cards, and we'll build off there. So I don't mind the move. It's an absolutely a panic move, but we're in a fucking desperate spot. And I'm excited to see how it goes. And the first game, right out the chute, is North London Daerby. At home, where we suck, against Arsenal, who we've sucked against. Especially this year, it's going to be interesting. Like this game, this weekend's game is such a wild card. Like I have no idea what is going to happen here. We got the new manager bounce, allegedly, but we're just on paper, we're just outmatched. We don't have our best player or our best goal scorer in Romero.
This is your biggest game of the year. You guys should come out like bats out of hell in this game. No, I'm serious.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
Why not? Why not?
You very real opportunity to really fuck this up for your biggest rival. Go out and do it. Go out and do it.
I mean, Tudor, he's only going to be here for a couple months. He's not here for a long time. He's here for a good time. And you know what would be the best time? Starting off with a win against Arsenal in a year where they're trying to win a title and we're trying to win fuck all. Like that is the definition of a good time.
My biggest concern with all this is that you guys have flip-flopped and snip-snapped a la Michael Scott with your vasectomies. Every coach that has come in through the door over the past few years. Ange, Nuno, Frank, Tudor, like it's you are going back and forth between defensive and attack-minded, and I'm just sort of like, could this be a complete and utter disaster? Because he's going to try to implement something mid-season, and we all know how that goes. Anybody who's married to their style and their philosophy, which I don't really think that Igor Tudor is,
I don't think so.
And he clearly was brought in to do like one thing, although he does have more of an attack-minding bias. Those can always be dangerous, especially when you're brought in mid-season, and even more than mid-season, 2/3 of the way through the season. So I'm wary, but I'm also like, if there's a moment for you guys to show up and make some noise and like get up for a game outside of your upcoming Champions League round of 16 fixture, like it's got to be this.
This weekend should tell us a lot about what Tudor is going to do with this team. Like if they can't show up for this game when he's the new manager, they're going out there trying to impress him. They're going against our biggest rival, like in a game that we are currently, like, we don't really have anything to lose in the league other than more games, which we've done plenty of that. Like, it's just like, go out there and fucking try and score some goals. Like, just, that's the one thing. If we give up some goals, fucking fine. Score some fucking goals.
According to Mitch's philosophy, though, is like, God forbid any team were to open themselves up against.
I think you should. I think you should take the game to us. Go try to counterattack. Play really aggressive football. Open up a little bit. See what happens.
I would rather lose 7-3 than I would to lose 2-0. Like,
that is such a Spurs mentality. I do want to just kind of go back to that bar that you just had. Is we don't have anything to lose except more games. That is a bar.
Except for a possible relegation battle at the end of the season.
Except more games in the league. Oh God, what a quote!
We've done a lot of that lately. God damn it!
We're the Jets.
Basically, we're basically domestically for the Premier League. We are the Jets. Now, listen, we're also European demons. Don't get it twisted here. We're two different teams. Whoever we've got to play, Galatasaray would be light work. I don't even care. Demons, European demons. God damn it!
You mean Bodo Glimt and a ravaged Manchester United team last year to win a Europa League trophy. Settle down.
Oh, that was fun. That was good times. Yeah, we'll leave it there for the Premier League. There was City hosting Newcastle. Newcastle obviously has just not been in a good spot other than Dr. Tottenham. We'll see if Dr. Tottenham medicine worked. Everton hosting United will be interesting. I feel like that game's always interesting. But we're going to move on. Halftime. All right. Weekly What If. Shout out to our guy, Chris, United Chris, in the Sam's Army Discord, who came up with this. What if legendary teams from the 50s or 60s played in the Premier League in 2026? Would they be great? Would they be competitive? Or would they get absolutely stomped? Mitch, why don't you go first?
I gave a sneak peek of my answer in the Discord. A best 11 of current listeners of this podcast could compete with any team of the 50s or 60s. And I'm not being hyperbolic. The game has advanced so far in the last, since Sam was in high school, that it really isn't even a contest. If the teams of Franz Beckenbauer and Lev Yashin were to compete in the Premier League today, they wouldn't get a point. They would play all season and would not earn a point. And I respect our elders and respect to the greats and everything. And they've laid the foundation for the game to grow to the place that it is now. But it's just head and shoulders above. The average D3 college team is as or more skilled than the average Premier League team in 1950 or 60, first flight team.
I think I don't know if I can sign on that sort of harsh of a view of the legendary teams of years past. Obviously, if you look at some of the highlights, they don't look great. I do think that there were some incredible athletes that were playing, though, that would be, I
don't think that there were any good athletes back then. I just think that I don't.
That's pure hatred.
Johan Cruyff is a legend because he found out he could turn his body one way. And again, respects to the legends for getting us to a place where we can. Yeah, he's a trailblazer, and this is the same for any sport. You look back at old footage, and you're like, "Oof, that is." It doesn't look anything like the sport that we play today, and it's kind of a gift that we can look back at that and say, look at how far we've come. It's just, if they had the same level of skill and training and technical ability, it wouldn't even be a conversation. They wouldn't be professional footballers today.
What do you got to say to Adam's question? Why are some of those personal achievements and records still unapproached?
Because I think the gap between who the best professional footballer was and who the average professional footballer was back then was massive. it would be like if you were to take a Premier League player and drop them onto a college team where there's a bunch of other athletes, but it's night and day in terms of technical ability, creativity, and physical ability.
Anything to add, Tyler?
Cosign. Nope.
I do think that it's one of those answers where it's either black or it's going to be white. There's no in between. Like none of these, they wouldn't show up and like compete and be like a middle of the road. Like if those like a team in the 60s that were like, you know, I don't know what we're talking about, like Busby's Boys or whatever. Like I do think that they actually had some superior athletes that clearly didn't have the technical ability that everybody has today, but I think that they would have their athletic ability and just competitive wherewithal that they would find a way to compete. Either they would find a way to compete or they'd just get absolutely stomped. And yeah, I'm probably leaning towards the latter, but I'm not willing to disrespect my elders as much as you guys are. No, that
I have a related question that only requires a numerical answer. What year could you both travel back to and be a professional footballer? Let's call it a Premier League top flight English footballer. What year could you travel back to and make any team in the top flight of English football?
Like me right now, ancient me?
50s or 60s. I would say late 50s, early 60s.
Okay. No. Well, I'll give yourself your prime.
I'm just kidding.
The scream that I almost scrumped.
I'm just guessing. Like I wasn't alive for like the 70s or the 60s. When I see highlights of like the 60s, yeah, I think I probably can answer.
Stop trying to convince people that you're young. Okay, you didn't need to.
I am. They keep trying to age me in the Discord. I'm going to be 60 according to them in a couple
fight
weeks.
It. Just lean into it.
Oh god. All right.
Tyler, you think 60s?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, all right. Round the world. Oh, MLS, boys and girls. 2026 season is upon us. We start this weekend. Big kickoff. As Tyler mentioned before, he's not going to be on the call for Minnesota United this year, unfortunately. So no more frequent flyer trips to the Twin Cities, but he still has plenty of hot takes on MLS, and he's probably a little freer to let us know what he's really thinking about what's going on. So let me throw it to you first. Coming into the season, any thoughts on the games itself, the teams, or behind the scenes, anything related to MLS? What's on your mind?
Teams, I think that Inter Miami just completely and utterly reloaded and are probably going to win MLS Cup again, and Messi's probably going to win MVP again. So everybody just brace yourself for that and mentally prepare it for when it happens in 9 months, because it is going to happen. So don't say I didn't warn you, number one. I think that, like Timo Werner to San Jose is really exciting, but they got rid of the rest of the front line. So, like, what is that going to look like under Bruce Arena? I think Rafa Vicky at Sporting Kansas City is a really bizarre hire. I spent some time with Rafa in Chicago, obviously, and it was COVID, so it was different. So I didn't get the same level of exposure to him that I normally would have. But really bizarre. Like, they barely have signed any player. Like, they have barely a functioning roster on their team. FC Cincinnati, very curious. They really didn't change a ton. Obviously very talented, but like, I wonder if they're maybe, because they're kind of holding pat, that they might be falling off. But this could be a situation, especially with all the summer signings that they made, that they could potentially, like, it just is going to take them a year. Like, I almost liken them to Liverpool a little bit. Like, they had some big time signings when you think about like Kevin Denke and Evander, if you're going to liken that to like Florian Wirtz and Isak, and they might just need a full year in order to like really adapt and hit their full stride, although Evander had an MVP caliber season last year. Behind the scenes, there's been a lot of talk about the Apple TV deal and everything like that, and I obviously happen to be somewhat well-versed in that and happen to know some of the things that are going on. I will say this. Regardless of what you're hearing from some MLS executives, I know for a fact they are hurting money and then some because of this deal and because of how it's been handled for the past several years. They went from doing all the games in the stadiums to doing some games, or doing a few games from the studio, from doing a lot of games in the studio to doing all the games at once again back at the stadium. that to me screams, and I know for a fact, of an organization that doesn't really know where it's going, and it doesn't know what it's doing, and there's no premeditative feel behind it right now. The deal is expiring now in 2029, not in 2020, not in 2032, which is 3 years earlier than it was originally supposed to be. And I would not be surprised if that's going to end even sooner because of how much money MLS is losing. And I'm just telling you that as a fact. That's not sort of like, I just know that like they bit off way more than they could possibly chew, taking on the responsibility of being not only a sports league, but a network as well, which is what they did with this Apple TV thing. They took on the production costs and everything like that. And the $250 million a year that they're getting from Apple, they're at the bare minimum spending that on production alone. So there's no way they're making any money off this. And that's why, MLS Season Pass doesn't exist anymore. And if you're just an Apple TV Plus subscriber, you automatically get MLS now, because we're, for whatever reason, putting the 5th most popular league in the country behind a paywall, behind 2 paywalls. So like, anyway, that's a whole shifting landscape. But with that said, the next 3 or 4 years of MLS, like, and I hate to say this, and I know I'm going on a bit of a rant here, and this isn't exactly MLS hit and quit in a minute, but I was having a conversation with somebody who's very plugged into this scene and is in this space. I'm like, if I were betting on the growth of MLS post World Cup, I'm kind of betting against the house here, because what is Miami going to be once Messi leaves? What is the league going to be once Messi leaves? And what does this really look like from like garnering momentum after the World Cup? People get it twisted. MLS was not made because the World Cup came to the States in 1994. That was a behind the scenes handshake between the United States and FIFA, saying, we will bring the World Cup to your shores if you implement a first division. Voila, you have MLS 2 years later. You think that just magically appeared in 2 years? No, that was something that was agreed upon. So with that in mind, I don't see this like rocket ship of growth happening with MLS because the World Cup is coming to the States. I think that there might be some uptick in sort of like how clubs are able to operate financially because of the calendar being flipped. And that's going to drastically change our ability to operate within the world market, within the global market. I think that that's real. But at the end of the day, this is still a country that relies upon star power. It's still a country that wants to, see the very best. And it's not a country that's used to their league being deemed the 10th best league or the 15th best league in the world. And forgive me, but like last time I checked, just because you're getting aging superstars to come to this league doesn't necessarily mean that A, it's going to sustain itself, and B, the lack of exposure that currently exists within MLS because of the Apple TV deal it is such a cut off your nose to spite your face situation. Yes, you got Messi in, but you made him a partner and you gave him a cut of every single subscriber that you had. Most of your subscribers are season ticket holders who get the subscription for free, by the way, so you're not even making money off of that. And like, I just don't see a world in which, like, just because the World Cup is coming here, MLS is going to go like that. And I'm pointing upwards. It's just not. Just not. And you have Leagues Cup and the All-Star game happening directly after the World Cup. Bravo. Way to really maximize the momentum coming off of World Cup. And that's the rabbit out of the hat. Anyway, that's my feelings on the behind-the-scenes stuff.
It's an interesting situation and time, because I do think there will be a definite, not just uptick, but serious sort of upward movement in just interest in the sport, in soccer. Now, that will be spread across Premier League and Liga MX and MLS and USL, perhaps. But it's not going to just all be translated into more interest in MLS. MLS has to work for that. Now, USL could be in a position to also just sort of benefit from this, but they're in the weird situation right now where we don't even know, if this season's going to start on time. They're supposed to, but at the same time, you know, we had Connor Tobin on. We had, you know, I've posted on Instagram several times about the USL situation and their players, you know, their collective bargaining agreement, which expired at the end of 2025. So they don't have that at the moment. They do have a season that's about to start. Whether there's a work stoppage, we don't know. I certainly hope that there isn't, but I also hope that the players don't just back down and actually stick with it and force the owners or whoever. It's this weird three-way negotiations with the league and the Cubs and players. But I hope that the players have the ability to, you know, sort of force them to come to the table and give them fucking health insurance and stuff like that. I mean, it's like, you know, we were talking about in the Discord the other day. It's like promotion and relegation is great, but health insurance is a little more important, you know, from the player's perspective. So like USL could be in a position that they could benefit from this, and yet they're in this weird situation. So we're in a strange time right now, coming up into what should be sort of this, you know, breakthrough.
And just, you know, we can stop talking about this soon, just because I could do this for the next hour and a half, to be frank. But I think one of the big reasons why we're in this weird spot is because I think that these MLS valuations, right, and this sort of like Ponzi scheme feel that this whole thing has, because I know for a fact that there's only like a handful, you can count them on one hand, teams who actually make money in MLS. Yet you're going to tell me that some of these teams are worth $1.4 billion? Why? Because they have an expansion fee that they paid $350 million just to get into the league, $500 million to get into the league. Like, come on, man. And that's the sort of like dissonance that exists within the business model of these MLS teams. And then if you're going to USL, and this ties the whole thing together, is that like, I think there are two good examples of sort of like one league that got paralyzed by what's going on, and one league who might be overstepping a little bit and overreaching. Overreaching is USL and trying to implement a first division and institute pro rel without proper working conditions. And by the way, those are only some teams that don't have health insurance. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't think most do. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that there's a large portion of teams that do offer health insurance. It's just not mandated across the league, which I think is where sort of we're going to be going with this. So that's USL like overreaching and trying to make the most out of sort of like the soccer frenzy that's going to come out of the World Cup, which is fair. And then there's MLS who got paralyzed by it. And it felt like they didn't really do anything. Like, again, the fact that we missed out on flipping the calendar of MLS by a year, but you weren't able to have it coincide with the conclusion of the World Cup and the start of the new era of MLS, one of the biggest misses in professional sports history, in my opinion. Because you're instituting this new calendar not 5 years down the line because your owners weren't ready to do it and the league wasn't prepared to logistically execute on that, but you're missing it by a year. A year. And the year that you're missing it by is the same one in which the World Cup is coming to the United States. That is paralysis from Major League Soccer and not executing on what is their biggest opportunity to garner that momentum and to parlay it into something that can push MLS into the next 3 decades. So, you know, back to this whole thing is like, that's why it's such an interesting time, is because you've got one league who's trying to maybe do too much, one league who's clearly not doing enough, and all with the caveat of like soccer, sustainable professional soccer is still so young in this country. It's barely 30 years old at the MLS level. It's not even 20 years old at like the proper USL level and sort of like the modern USL that we've come to know. So it's fascinating, but at the same time, it's like juvenile to a certain extent. And I don't mean that in a negative way to the people who are making these decisions, but just from the sheer standpoint of like longevity and sort of like what the lifespan of how it's existed so far.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting few months and few years. But we'll talk about this again. Last thing on MLS real quickly before we move on. Mine brings up a good point. One of the best stories of the 2025 MLS season was the Vancouver Whitecaps and their success that they had. And right now, those fans, it's not, I don't know if this is being talked about by sort of the mainstream media. It's in Canada, it's Vancouver. I don't know, people just aren't paying enough attention. But like, this is a team that has been bad for a long time. They just got good. They got really good. They were fun to watch. They got Thomas Mueller, and they could be leaving soon. Like the situation is obviously very up in the air at the moment. But Vancouver fans, as mine said in the Discord chat, like, how are they supposed to get excited about this season, knowing that team that these are people who have been supporting this club for years when they were just absolutely at the bottom of the league. They finally get up there. They're finally excited about a season, and yet they could just have their team just yanked out from underneath them. So that's a situation that needs to be handled and hopefully handled properly.
And just so everybody's aware in terms of the actual details of this whole thing. So like the situation with BC Place where the Vancouver Whitecaps play in Vancouver is like untenable from a financial situation. And I've seen these contracts in terms of like what the city operated and the municipality operated stadiums charge MLS teams or any team for that matter in order to open it up. And obviously if it's a NFL team comparatively to an MLS team, the finances are a little bit different. They signed a 1-year extension. So literally like Vancouver and BC Place have a 1 year left to basically figure out a new stadium somewhere, break ground, whatever, and get out of this current situation. Or they very well could find themselves out of a franchise and the franchise being moved to Indianapolis, which God bless the Midwest, but like, I just don't know if we need that. And like Vancouver is such a great city, world-class city, super nice people. And you know, like it would be such a shame. So
the timing of it, they finally got good. People are finally excited about it, and yet they can't really be excited.
And the World Cup is coming there, and there's a possibility that they could be out of an MLS team. It makes zero sense.
Save the Caps. Save the Crew worked. Let's work on Save the Caps now. All right, stoppage time. Where? You know where we're starting. Ivan Toney's best bets. Got my overtrain hat on. It was a good week. We had a good week. 3-1. The Sunday's game got snowed out, unfortunately, but we still went 3-1, up several units. So we're happy with our performance. We're gonna just keep that going. I'm getting a little aggressive this week. I'm gonna warn you right now. Got some over 3.5s that I feel good about, and are gonna win us some money. So otherwise, so basically, overtrain is Wednesday through Sunday. 1 over per day. These are over 2.5 unless otherwise stated. So Wednesday, we are starting with the Champions League. We are in the playoffs, and this is the first leg. So first legs usually make me a little nervous, but you know what? I'm going for it because Atletico Madrid is just a wild team to watch right now. They could give up goals to anybody. They're playing Club Brugge, so we're going over 2.5 there. Thursday, we're going to the Europa League. Celtic is hosting Stuttgart, and we're going over 3.5 there. Friday is A-League. We're going back to Australia, down under. Adelaide is hosting Perth Glory. We're going over 3.5 again there. Saturday, MLS is back, and we are going with LAFC hosting Inter Miami. Again, over 3.5 on that one. And finally, I'm going North London Daerby on Sunday. Score some fucking goals. God damn it. Score some goals. And I know we're going to give up some goals, so just score some goals. Tottenham hosting Arsenal on Sunday morning. That's over 2.5. So there we go. Overtrain, let's go get rich. Mitch, what do you got? Ivan Toney's best bet.
Worst case scenario for you is Arsenal win 2-0. Yet I foresee that being a very realistic result.
Very real possibility.
Okay. Yeah. I usually give you 3 games. I got you 4 today. 2 of these games are on Wednesday. 2 of them are on Saturday. So on Wednesday, I like Villarreal moneyline against Levante. And I like both teams to score in Bayer Leverkusen and Olympiacos. And then on Saturday, I like both teams to score in Brentford Brighton and Villa moneyline against Leeds. Altogether, you're at plus 820.
Casual plus 820. All right. By the way, shout out. I think your parlay last week, didn't you you missed every single leg? That's actually kind of impressive. I think you deserve a little credit there. You're due for a win as well, so we'll turn that around this week. TNT, Tyler Nathaniel, what do you got best bet wise?
So obviously that crazy parlay that I laid out last week did not hit. So
was
we are officially out of money in the bank.
Got every leg wrong, by the way. Did I throw Mitch under the bus when it was your performance that I meant to shout out? Do you know? I'll check.
Yeah,
I didn't give any last week. I wasn't on last week.
Yeah, it might have been me.
But
anyway,
you. Sorry, bitch.
Back on the horse, and so you guys can take more of my gambling advice. Leeds get a point at Villa Park. Draw. West Ham money line over Bournemouth. Man City over Newcastle. Casual 11.41.
But it was Tyler's parlay that actually the plus 34,000 parlay. You missed every single leg. Sorry, Mitch, that was not you. My bad on that. All right.
It doesn't really matter if I miss all of them or if
true.
I miss all of them or miss one. It's
more
loss.
impressive that you didn't get any of them, to be honest. GOAWs, everybody's favorite segment. Tyler, why don't you start us out?
Chris Kavanaugh on the refereeing crew for the Aston Villa and Newcastle game. My goodness. Talk about forgetting how to referee a game that doesn't have VAR involved. A couple of the worst decisions that you're going to see in this hemisphere. So congratulations, because they have also been suspended for the next game that crew was supposed to be on anyway. So I love accountability. I absolutely love it. So those are my goes.
Somebody was in the Discord suggesting that they need to do promotion and relegation for referees at the end of the season. Yeah, I'm not against it. As Tyler says, accountability is big. That was a horrible job by that referee and the whole crew. And I do think when I was watching it and sort of seeing how that was working out, it really struck me as a situation where VAR has changed his approach to reffing a game. And then he was thrown into the deep end without VAR, and he just had no idea what he's doing. So I just thought it was an example of the way the VAR is sort of silently changing a lot more than we actually even notice. Mitch, what do you got, GOAWs?
I don't have any that stick out to me, so I'll just rattle off some thoughts that I've had throughout the week.
Okay.
Dominic Szoboszlai can hit a ball, and I really, really like watching him play football. I think having Cafu as a celebrity in the celebrity game is one of the funniest decisions that I've seen the NBA make in a really long time, because he's too old for anybody like current soccer or basketball players to care about him as anything other than like a FIFA card. And I think he looked fine out there, I guess. But it's just a really strange decision. I can hand select 15 other retired players that would have enjoyed that opportunity more and probably been a better basketball player for it. Yeah, Mayan, we're back to the All-Star Weekend talk. I'm a student of this All-Star Weekend. I have opinions on every single All-Star Weekend that has ever happened in my lifetime. And then, let's see, some other thoughts I've had recently. No, I think that's about it. I have to bring my notebook next time, because I had some bangers from the Arsenal-Brentford game that are just slipping my mind right now. But I am sticking with my New Year's resolution of taking notes on any game that I watch. And I'm going to look back on this year full of matches and be really excited to share my thoughts. So we should do like a year in review, and I'll just give you like one line from each game. I think that'll be a fun.
Listen, journaling, it's back. It's back in a big way.
Yeah.
All right, my GOA, I've got just one, so Tyler can be happy about this, although it's actually three people, and that is U.S. men's national team strikers. Big nice week for our nines. Patrick Ajimang scored again for Derby County, this weekend. That was 4 goals in 6 games. He's got 10, which I believe is even for or tied for the most on the team. And by the way, he just came over after the MLS season. Haji Wright scored a hat trick for Coventry City in their massive 1-versus-2 battle with Aiden Morris and Middlesbrough on Monday. He scored all 3 in their 3-1 win, putting Coventry in first. And by the way, that race to the title race in the championship, and not just the title race, but like top 6, that's going to be awesome. A lot of new teams like Millwall, Ipswich, Hull City are back in the mix. So that's going to be a fun run in there. And then finally, Fuller and Balogun, who just had a first half brace in the Champions League playoff against PSG. So he hasn't been, he hasn't been producing quite as much as I think fans wanted, especially Monaco fans. But good to see him scoring 2 in a Champions League game, and hopefully you can, leverage that momentum. moving forward. There you go, boys. Mitch, Tyler, you guys are the best. Everybody in the Sam's Army Discord, we love you dearly. If you're not in Sam's Army Discord, get in it now by going to Sam's Army Patreon, $3.99 a month, best money you'll ever spend. Mikey will be back. Tommy may be alive and back. We shall see. And we will see you guys next week. Bigger, better, maybe faster, stronger. See you then.